Lord, I long to be in your presence. Show me your
I'll get him in a couple days.
Show me your
Give me a hug, brother. I will. You're not a little soldier. So
Show me your
let me see. Ellis. God bless you. Amen. I'm so glad you got to come. And I just feel that God has his hand on your life.
Hello, welcome to the Daily Word. Today's Daily Word is Bottomless Pit. I want to talk to you a little bit about the bottomless pit because it's very important when it comes to the spirituality of a lot of the things that's going on in this world today. If you think of the bottomless pit, look at the bottomless pit almost kind of like how we have a prison system here. The bottomless pit represents a place where unclean spirits and other things in the divine world, so to speak, where they get punished, whether it's the moon, the sun, and other entities that's supernatural. That's a place where they all get punished. It's the bottomless pit, unclean spirits, fallen angels, you name it, from the spirit realm. That's a possibility of where they can be at. And like I said, if you think about it as it relates to like this world, it's just like how our prison systems are. So I just wanted to kind of outline that real quick before we go further into it. And when you think about the world, how a lot of what's going on in the world, it relates to the situation in the bottomless pit, whether those things have been released, those unclean entities, those fallen angels, those other entities that comes out of the bottomless pit. Now, there's been a lot of trying to replicate what God had created. Not everybody, but a lot of people around the world, they're so into trying to recreate what God did. And to the point where they just want to get science so involved with the creation of what God did. But in doing something like that, you're at risk to releasing some things that wasn't meant to be released. And that's kind of like when you think about the bottomless pit, where some of these unclean entities and some of these fallen angels have been subjugated to. You got to sit there and think about it. We on just a regular mortal level, trying to deal with these unclean spirits and the like, is not easy for us. We're mortal. But initially, a lot of those things that were fallen angels, that was unclean spirits, that were other entities that wasn't conducive with how the world is set up and conducive to what we need in order to be able to maintain and try to have a good life here in this world. You know, we have to think about trying to recreate things and trying to do things too much to where it can affect our well-being here. And going back to the bottomless pit, that's some of the things that happened. Some of these unclean spirits was released, and that's who we have to deal with. I know we talked about this in the past, and we talk about, you know, how they'll get up inside of you, inside of your thinking, and you might be thinking that's something that you're actually thinking about. But in actuality, it's so against the norm. It's so against your character. You don't realize it a lot of times until the aftermath, until you do something that you normally wouldn't do. And you got to have that kind of mentality when you think about it. So when I talk about the bottomless pit and the importance of the bottomless pit, initially, like I said, these were set up to get rid of unclean entities, fallen angels, and the like that could have adverse effects on us. But like I said, some has been released, some have escaped, or whatever the case is, and they are amongst us today. And they are amongst the way a lot of all of this turmoil and a lot of these negative and bad things are happening around the world. Like I was, if you think about like the two witnesses, for example, and they say that the the they were these unclean spirits, and they use like locusts and some other metaphors for coming out of the bottomless pit, but in actuality those were metaphors for unclean spirits, and they came to attack the two witnesses that was spoken of in the book of Revelations, because they tormented the people they tormented these spirits vicariously through just telling the truth about what's going on in the world. So I'm just giving you an example because that's mentioned in the book of Revelations about these locusts, and smoke was released from the bottomless pit, and they went after the prophesied two witnesses because of what they were speaking about. So just think about that. Then there's other things. If you think about further in the book of Revelations, they talk about the star that had the key to the bottomless pit that was released. So it's basically telling you it was something that came down to the bottomless pit and released something that was inside of the bottomless pit. Now, we talked about this before. When you think about the book of Revelations, it's kind of, and it's the testimony of Jesus Christ, of course, like I mentioned, but it's basically giving you insight of what this world was going to be, where it came from, and all the events that are going to happen. And part of that was the star being released that had the key to the bottomless pit. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is metaphors, and there's symbolisms associated with a lot of the things in the book of Revelations. But in this particular situation, it's basically saying it was something that came down, and the key to the bottomless pit, with the key to the bottomless pit, and it was open, and then these things happened. So just kind of wanted to give you a brief synopsis of the bottomless pit. And when you do your reading and you look into that more, just have that in mind. That is, I guess the best way to describe it is similar to how we have a prison system or jail system here. The idea is to get rid of people or individuals that's going to be bad, to remove them from society. And that's the same kind of thing, using it in an analogy, of course, of what was done when those things were placed there from heaven. Just wanted to give you a little information on the bottomless pit and what comes out and what goes in and the whole purpose. So as you look into that a little bit further on your own, just have that in mind. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day. God bless.